Sound speed.
Can you see our heads?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sound speeding. This is episode 5, I believe, of Little Guy Big Girl podcast.
Woo! Yeah.
Take one and only. Ah, shit. I don't have shoes, bro. It is what it is. I'll hide them.
Please don't hide them near me.
Hide them. Okay. And
I think I've never been more unattracted to a lover's feet in my life.
action. So we're going to start it off today with there are a lot of holidays going on, but none can compare to the St. Peter's Day Fiesta
what are
in
the
Gloucester.
Other holidays going on aside from Cinco De Mayo?
That's the only other one.
Oh, okay.
And this one isn't even in May. This one's in June, but I thought it was important for the culture. Just watch it. We'll have it going on the screen. I just want Sofia to see.
He's been so excited about this.
I saw it last night, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it.
Okay.
The poll contest drew big crowds to Gloucester Friday, and it's easy to see why.
What I like is unscripted drama. You don't know how it's going to end or when.
Just when that flag seemed unreachable,
It's an Italian flag.
It's
Oh!
It's an Italian tradition.
Stood on the shoulders of his competitors,
Look at this guy.
26-year-old Frank Taramina was paraded in triumph through his home streets.
That is a dream come true for my son. This is awesome.
The greasy pole, part of the St. Peter's Fiesta, represents the important things for this champ.
Oh my God,
Family,
he's-
tradition, and treasured memories.
My grandfather's in the Fiesta committee. I lost my grandfather 4 years ago. He was a fisherman. I'm a fisherman.
He's kinda
My family is
cute.
built on fishermen, and this is what St. Peter's Fiesta is all about. The blessing of the
This is
fishermen
making me
and
emotional.
how our community was built. And I can't say enough. My love
Why are
for the
his
ocean
lips
and
purple?
my community and the city of Gloucester. I couldn't be more happy.
It's like you just won gold at the Olympics.
Oh my God. That was beautiful.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm not going to lie,
It's just a bunch
though.
of drunk Italians running against a greasy pole.
That's a difficult thing to do.
It looks really hard. Some people
think
just like
that's like Ninja Warrior.
it's way harder. It's
Way
a greasy pole on a
Yeah,
dock.
so that probably
50
is the dream
feet.
of his life. I understand that. I thought, based on the way you were
It's
talking
his
about
dream.
it, on the way that
This
you were
was a
talking,
dream
he's
come
an
true for
athlete.
my son.
He's an athlete. The way that you were talking about it last night, you're like, you have to watch this guy slide across the pole. It's so funny. Like, I didn't understand that it was an athletic competition.
It's just a bunch of greasy men running around a pole.
But he's good at it.
No, he's great at it.
That's like the Olympics right there.
But
Honestly,
can you
I'm proud of
imagine that
them.
they brought this from Sicily? And this is a yearly festival?
Of course, it's Sicilian.
It's Italian. That's Italian
Different.
as hell.
There's a difference.
They're like, we're
between
gonna.
Sicilians
How
and
did they
Italian.
come up with that?
The
We're gonna
difference?
how are we gonna grease up a pole, have a bunch of Italians run across it, and then pick up the flag at the end?
I don't know.
They do that all day. They sit at the dock and they wait for someone to grab it.
But it's a specific city that does it. It's not like an Italian tradition
They-
all around the world.
they do
I've
it in
never heard
Italy.
of this
Me neither. But I've seen countless videos about it.
because you.
It's not just
you've
this
looked
town.
It up. You've looked it up.
It came in my recommended, and
Of
I usually
course.
hate my recommended. There's a few times YouTube did it right. See, we need to be getting us in that recommended, like those Italians, those greasy
Yeah.
Italians.
I guess
I'm
we
not
just
calling
have to
Italians greasy. I'm saying that
grease you up and have you do something athletic,
See, we
which
need-
is honestly a challenge.
people
like,
would pay to see that.
I would pay you to see you do something athletic. Period.
I would pay to see me do something athletic
Without the grease.
without the grease. Okay.
But if you add the grease like that might add it for some people.
In what way?
Like, it just adds a challenge.
Yeah, it's a little something extra that they might not be expecting.
You'd have to grip onto something while you're doing it, though.
You can't grip onto something.
But there has to
That
be.
pole stops for nobody.
So what do? You what
You
would
just have to run as fast as
But
you
what
can.
would your
Strategy be? I think strategy's out the window once you're like 20 Bud Lights deep. and
So
you're
he was
running
really
across a
drunk.
greasy pole. He looked out of his goddamn mind.
Why were his lips so purple?
He just fell into like freezing cold water.
But his dreams came true.
That's true. That was his dream.
Oh my gosh.
I love how he did it for his community.
I would do that for my community.
But in like European towns, like in I was gonna say before I knew it was Italian in like northern
Did you think
Italy.
it was Greek?
No, I didn't think it was Greek. I
You're just
wasn't sure what it was. I had no idea what I was looking at.
But you saw the Italian.
But there are like
flag, the
there are
giant Italian
that yeah,
flag
I saw
you
that. No, there are a lot of videos where it's just regular flags.
had. Like the American one.
No, like regular ones. Like
a green
red
flag.
flags.
There's this
Green
flag
flag.
shop that we drive past every single time
Mm-hmm.
we go to the gym, which is not that often.
Like once a month.
Yeah. And it's like a little flag cart outside of Tommy's, the burger place with chili. I've never tried it, but Aaron tried it today. And they sell crazy flags, like all types
Whatever
of flags.
flag you want. From whatever side of the political spectrum you want it.
Yeah.
sell it to
They're
you.
not biased in any way. If it's a flag, they're selling it. They have no morals.
No.
And yet somehow I feel like that's choosing a side.
Oh, yep. I agree.
You do.
Yeah. Wow. That's very
It's
interesting.
pretty liberal of them.
It's really liberal of them.
Yeah,
Those are some woke kangs.
I know.
We should give them our business.
We should. We
We just
buy a
don't
flag.
have any flags.
I'm just like, which flag would we buy? Like it was a common thing in my family to be surrounded by American flags.
right.
Which now, like,
American flags. Yeah, that makes sense.
you know,
Yes.
and now I feel a little sometimes frightened by too many American flags.
That's fair.
Like you can't really put your finger on it, but you're like,
Something's not right.
This isn't right. How many there are? This person
think
loves
so.
freedom a little too much.
I think anything more than one. Anything more than one inside the house is, I think, too much.
Yeah.
I don't have any.
And
we
I
don't have
think,
any.
you know,
but
Yeah, we don't have any.
we don't have any
not-
flags.
We're not saying that that's a bad thing.
We just don't have any flags.
Not yet. But if you have any recommendations for which flag we should get from the flag shop, let us know. in the
When we get to
comments
50
below.
episodes, we'll do an episode with the flag guys. Whoever's, we'll go over there, and that'll be our intro video.
Yeah.
Us purchasing a flag.
Oh, why does that scare me so much?
It's
that
truly
whole
terrifying.
corner is just like always something happening over there.
Yeah, I was down there the other day, and there were just some guys setting things on fire.
In front of the flag shop.
Yeah. Well, it's like if you can't pay for billboard advertising, we should honestly do that. I don't know what the equivalent would be on YouTube.
We should make our own flag of us.
No, but I'm saying, what can we do to stir up attention? We need to do something dramatic.
Right.
Like, you need to shoot
Like-
me.
Right. With
That's up to you.
okay.
But I'm trying to think of things that we could do. We had a whole scheduled plan for today, and that's out the window. But what
No, we're still gonna try to stick to it because
I'm
I find Aaron and I have very different views on podcasts. I don't know how we're making a podcast together right now. The only reason we are is because we're always together. So like, there's nothing else to really do at that point.
that's true.
What?
No, it's just that's funny.
But
We hang out so much. Why don't we just start a podcast? That's basically what we did.
everyone does that though.
That's true.
I have told everyone. I was like so proud of this podcast. I was like telling everyone like, oh yeah, we started this podcast, and I was on the phone with my brother today.
That was
And he goes, yeah, you know, I did a podcast with my friends and we had to stop because the intro was us opening a beer every time.
That's true.
But then we went sober. So we stopped.
So they couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
That is funny.
So they
Think about. Yeah, we drink beers on the
on
podcast.
days.
But it's taking force too much.
Yeah.
So
But
we got to stop in solidarity. It's so cute.
No, they go on They're all they're all
Right.
sober for
It's
a
for
time.
sports. It's for sports.
Yeah, for rugby
Right.
Lent.
Do sports have an individual Lent? I don't really.
They
I've
go to
never
a
heard of
Catholic
that.
school.
Oh, I see.
So what they would call it Lent.
I see. Okay.
Rugby Lent.
I wasn't sure if it was a thing. That makes sense now. I
Because
understand.
whenever I'm off of, because Greta, we called my brother Greta, Leela and I.
Well, obviously.
Obviously, because she named him Greta, I think in relation to Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, it was a sign of respect.
Yes. Because,
Well, because they, I think, politically align, and
I think it was exactly because they politically align.
yeah.
And so we call Greta Greta. So if you ever hear me saying Greta, I mean my brother Andreas. And he created a podcast. That's the point. And I realized that this is not special. We are not special. It humbled me.
You mean
real
making
fast.
a podcast makes us special?
It made me feel like we were doing something.
That is true. Well,
I was
like I said,
proud to show people this podcast.
it is more than us just on like a compute. Like we're not Skyping doing a podcast.
But I
know what
honestly kind of like
And no
that Andreas
disrespect.
had like a set intro like that.
That is nice. Maybe he should make our intro. Do you think we could pay your brother? Like, would he do it for
wouldn't
like
take money from us.
$1,000?
He wouldn't take money from us.
I would
because
pay
he knows
him.
that he makes more money than I do.
I would pay him extensively. My whole thing is we need to constantly rebrand. Like,
Yeah.
I posted episode 4 before episode 3
See, I
because I
think-
want to throw them off.
I think that was weird. I didn't like that.
I know you didn't.
So anyway, Aaron and I disagree about podcasts. I think that we should plan out what we're going to talk about because I think that that's more intriguing.
Hold the mic a little bit closer.
Because I think that that's more
There we go. Oh my God.
I think that that's more intriguing, and you want to follow something that feels secure and not just a bunch of rambling like I'm doing right now.
Well, I think we're getting better at riffing, and I think we're going to get
I don't
better
like
at that.
riffing or improving. I like a set plan.
This isn't improv. We're not improv. We're just talking.
I know, but I like our...
So let's go down the list. What was the first thing we had?
It was the Italian poll.
That one.
You were
great.
the one who has the list, and that was actually a bad idea, but also a good idea because I would stick my face in that list and just get up all in it the whole
Oh,
podcast. And we
God.
just can't do that today. We just don't have time.
No, we don't.
Um,
Well, happy Cinco de Mayo,
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
everybody.
Um,
And you did extensive
I-
research for this segment. So we thought that, like we were saying, we need to spice it up. We need to, provide variation of content.
right.
So we thought we'd do a news segment today where Sofia would debrief us on the history of Cinco de Mayo.
Well, not a news segment. It's just like I didn't know a lot about Cinco
It's like
de Mayo.
Weekend Update. But
kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to try to talk to you guys about it. I took some notes.
We should just copy SNL and do everything they do.
Uh-huh.
It's like a Jimmy Fallon SNL. James Corden
Uh-huh.
show. Okay.
I have also what I realized is that when I research things I get really excited like a nerd.
You get stimulated by knowledge.
I get stimulated by knowledge, which is funny because I'm not that smart of a person, but I really love learning things. So if you have anything else that you want me to research,
Basically,
for
if you could
free.
just comment tasks for Sophia to complete in a given week, she will be so happy. Her mental health will skyrocket. Because the only
It's
times
so
you get
sad.
sad is when the only times you get sad in life is when you don't know what to do. Whereas for me, like I find pleasure in just doing nothing with my life.
which is kind of like my mom and dad's relationship, which is funny that I
Yeah.
found someone so similar to my mother.
Yeah, we're the same.
I get really anxious when I'm not doing anything. Anyway, here's about Cinco de Mayo.
So the Cinco de segment.
So what I want to know
That was a riff.
is what you think about when you think about the holiday.
Wow. Okay. Yes. Cinco de Mayo. It was always May 5th.
Oh, good job.
That's the translation. And it's on the 5th of May.
Aaron understands Spanish better
No,
than
I
me.
don't.
He does. It's a secret that we have.
No, I don't. It's not true.
You kind of do,
I
though.
won't take it.
I think everyone understands Spanish to some extent,
Wow, we got a
which
plane
makes
going on.
Latin people who don't speak Spanish, like myself, really miserable.
It makes it seemingly more shameful
It is more shameful.
when like a white woman who had.
Be faithful from Mitch.
Do you know
But
what
it's
I
not
mean?
even like white people anymore. Like, it's like you, too.
Yeah.
Like, Aaron, I was trying to talk to him in Spanish yesterday, and he understood everything that I said, and it made me want to cry.
I didn't understand everything you said. I
You
understood
did.
1 out of 20
But
words.
you know what? When I am listening to someone speak Spanish, I understand like 1 out of 10, if even.
Sure.
So it's similar.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm fluent.
Anyway, what do you think of when you think of Cinco de Mayo?
That is all I know about it. I actually know nothing.
Really?
So I'm excited
Did you
for
ever
this.
Did people ever celebrate it in Hawaii?
In Hawaii. Yeah, no.
No.
I was going to do a thing, but I just cut it completely.
If you are Latino and you're living in Hawaii, reach out to me.
What?
Because I have never seen one of you before. Never seen any Latin people in Hawaii.
Sure. May Day is, like, May 1st is a thing. May Day is Lay Day, is what we say.
Okay, yeah, but I'm talking about a different holiday right now.
I understand. That's the only May-related holiday.
But, like,
aside from Memorial Day, but
no, there were Latin people that you grew up around, right? Not really.
no.
Filipinos.
Yeah.
That's your equivalent.
In Hawaii.
Okay.
And Asians are the whites of Hawaii.
That's so interesting. So you were full white.
Basically.
I was basically full white too, until we both went to Michigan, and
It is what it is.
then it is what it is.
Would you like to give us some insight?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when I always thought about Cinco de Mayo, I thought at first that it was an opportunity in my Irish Catholic school that they would bring us Mexican food to eat, and I was super happy about it. Same with Chinese New Year. That's why I said that it was similar to me.
Right. She came in saying, Cinco de Mayo, it's the same thing as Chinese New Year. That's a really progressive thought.
Because when I was little, that's when the moms would bring in food to the class, and my hungry ass was just so excited that I would be having Mexican and Chinese food
Right.
for a party.
I can imagine you feeling so sick after.
No. I feel like Mexican food's pretty healthy. Okay.
There's something weird in that.
So anyway, a
Ooh.
lot of people think that Cinco de Mayo is Mexican Independence Day. And I know that it's not Mexican Independence Day because I feel like every year comes around Cinco de Mayo and the things that we're reminded of is it's not Mexican Independence Day, and white people, please don't wear sombreros and mustaches.
How do you feel about whites going out to bars to celebrate?
You know,
What's your thought
because
on
I grew up around a lot of white people who love to go to bars and celebrate.
Yes.
And I think that Cinco de Mayo was like an opportunity for that to happen. It's the cultural appropriation part that I find racist. Like if you're going to dress up.
So you're basically, your boundary is dressing up.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I honestly didn't mind. Like, also, I'm not Mexican. So
That's fair.
this is not my culture. But I am Latin, so I guess I feel like also there's like this phenomenon. I don't know if anyone else who grew up in California and is not Mexican but is Latin has experienced this. I always felt like I needed to know more about Mexican culture than my own
Yeah.
because there's so many Mexicans in California.
Right.
And most of my Latin friends or family members or, you know, the people outside of my cousins and my abuelitos and all of our family friends basically that were Latin were Mexican. And so I did feel, and then even later, if I was to meet a new Latin friend, they would usually be Mexican until I moved out of California.
Right.
So I just felt like, you know, to be Latin enough, I have to understand Mexican culture.
Well, it's just you're surrounded by it, so that makes sense.
Which is funny because it's also like very different from the rest of Latin American culture. Like specifically Mexican, I think there's different foods, there's different traditions. Like
this all checks for
but it's its own thing.
Different countries.
I think more than like I think there's more similarities between, for example, like Puerto Ricans and Colombian culture than maybe Mexican and Colombian.
I think the geography too attests to that.
Yeah. Anyway, I felt like I had to learn a lot about it growing up. And so I would feel a little weird when, it was culturally appropriated.
That's good. That makes sense.
Yeah. But I
You don't see a lot of people going out and getting fucked up for Chinese New Year.
But you do for St. Patrick's Day. Yeah,
well, I think that's...
I also think it's
but Cinco de Mayo is not a white... Do you know what I mean?
Cinco de Mayo, I think, specifically has been
Why
treated as a white holiday.
Why is that so celebratory for the whites?
Because I think companies use it to advertise things, whereas they don't really do that for Chinese.
Like, why don't we get out there for MLK Day?
You're right.
Or,
Right.
Something like that.
Well, I also think, I don't know, it's not as significant as a holiday for Mexicans.
I see.
So it can be manipulated to be something else.
Right. What other holidays have that? We'll circle back to the history because I'm interested, but I'm just curious.
Probably St. Patrick. I don't know.
Yeah, but St. Patrick's Day. You're totally right.
I don't know. I don't know any
well.
other holidays because I just feel like it's so misconstrued in our history. And
yeah, I have
a
no
lot
idea.
of like Mexican Americans don't. This like comforted me because you know that thing of like when it has to do with your ethnicity or race, and you're like, I should know all about it. Mm-hmm. But you don't.
Yeah, we had a whole war that was
right
about that.
Anyway,
it was the second one with the war.
Anyway, I think a lot of people don't know the history of it, and I didn't know the history of it at all, and now I know it, so I'm going to explain it. But basically, Mexican Independence Day was on September 16th, over 50 years before
Does
Cinco
that have
de
to do
Mayo.
with the Chapultepec?
What? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
That sounds right. Can I look that up?
Yeah, look that up.
You go. I want to see if that's...
And that was from Spain, independence from Spain. And so wrongly so, I kind of assumed that Cinco de Mayo was like in relation to the Spanish, just because I don't really think a lot about the French being involved in Mexican history. But
did you say September 13th?
16th.
Oh, never mind.
Oh.
There was the Battle of Chapultepec on September 13th.
Well, then that was probably in relation to independence as well.
Just outside. Yeah.
In 1810?
1847.
I don't know.
There were a lot of wars going on those days.
There's a lot of wars. I also want to say, like, I really hope that all this information is correct, and we'll put the resources at the bottom of the comments because I don't know everything, and I literally just researched this today because they didn't want to talk about Cinco de Mayo without addressing what it actually is.
We'll put the Wikipedia page in the comments.
Yes, sure. I didn't look at Wikipedia. I know better than that.
Okay, let's run through it.
Okay. Sorry.
You're doing great.
So basically what happened at the time is Benito Juarez, who was a lawyer and a member of the Zapotec indigenous tribe. He was a what? He was part of the tribe. He was indigenous. Okay, sorry. Are you okay? Yes, don't make fun of me while I give the history. I'm making fun of you. Okay, he was elected as president of Mexico in 1861. And during this time, there was a lot of internal problems with Mexico, and so they were not able to pay their debt payments to a lot of European governments. And And so, in response, France, Britain, and Spain sent naval forces to Mexico. And Britain and Spain ended up settling negotiations with Mexico and leaving. However, Napoleon III was the leader of France at the time. Do you know about him?
Oh, I've heard.
Okay.
I've heard some things about this man.
Okay. So he wanted to invade Mexico, use this as an opportunity to expand his empire. And so basically, Cinco de Mayo is a specific reference to a battle, the Battle at Pueblo, which is a town in Mexico. And the Juarez, the president of Mexico at the time, basically like gathered these troops. And the point of this battle was that, okay, it lasted from daybreak to early evening. This is just really funny that like people would like fight in that way. I don't know.
Yeah, people say, "Hey, we're having a disagreement.
It's like
let's
we're gonna
break it down with break dancing."
Yeah. Right.
But they kill each other until there's literally like a couple guys left.
Yes.
It's a really weird and fucked up response.
Yes. So
strange.
the reason why this was such an important battle was because the indigenous army, they had outdated armor and equipment, but they were fighting from a strategic location. So they were fighting from the hills.
That's such a classic move.
Right.
They know, if you know the land better than they do, you're gonna win.
Yes, but the French had a lot more people. They had better equipment, as we hear. It's a classic underdog story.
Yeah.
And so the indigenous group was shooting from up above, and they were able to make the French retreat. The French lost about 500 people, and the Mexicans lost less than 100.
Wow.
Which you're
that's
like, that's a big win right there.
Sure.
But anyway, it really became a hope for resisting imperial forces. And even though they just won this battle, the French ended up invading a year later, and they did actually occupy Mexico for some time. Man, the
French are such pieces of shit.
Yeah.
If you look at history with the French, they literally suck.
Yeah.
They have like croissants and that's it.
They're pretty good croissants though,
I suppose.
But anyway, what I didn't know about this,
fuck French people,
was that I was listening to a podcast, and it was this reporter named Russell Contreras, and he talked about Cinco de Mayo in relation to the abolition movement.
Okay.
And so basically, in California at the time of the original Cinco de Mayo battle, there were a lot of Latin Americans living there.
Yes.
And not just Mexicans, but Chileans, South Americans were coming over. And so there were a lot of Spanish newspapers. And looking back at the Spanish newspapers, it was clear that the Latin Americans were really worried that Napoleon was going to side with the South.
Yes.
And that basically they would lose the Civil War.
Yeah. Continue.
Let me just say something real quick.
Okay. Sidebar.
If I was a teacher and you were a student, I would be so unhappy. I just want to say, you should apologize to every teacher that you've ever had individually, because you don't give them respect.
I owe maybe like 6 or 7 an apology.
And it's rude. Okay.
Mr. Del Croce, French. Continue.
What did you do in that class?
He actually almost hit me. Like, he grabbed my face and shit.
I would have too. I'm just imagining him grabbing your little face.
It was in front of the whole class. Without hesitation.
Freaking deserved it.
Looking back, absolutely.
Okay. But anyway, I think that this kind of the day. Okay, I took this quote.
You took a quote from where?
We'll list it at the bottom in the resources page.
Okay, we're not making a detailed. Where did you get this from? Where this one?
I think this one was from the History Channel. The other one was
From
most.
We're doing this every time.
Most of my resources were from the LA Times.
Oh, interesting.
And the specific researcher or reporter that I mentioned. And he had a lot to say that was really interesting that I didn't know about. And so,
yeah, what else?
It was just celebrated in California by Latinos and abolitionists who linked this fight, this particular victory against an imperial power when you're outnumbered, to the fight against slavery. And
right.
I think something that, what's his name, Russell mentioned that I thought was really interesting was like, especially during the rise of Black Lives Matter most recently, there's been a lot of things coming out that like a lot of Latino communities are anti-Black. And I do think that there's a lot of anti-Black history within our communities. However, we also don't talk about this union and this like sort of
right. There's some hope and inspiration. It's an important
holiday. Like how the histories are intertwined and how the abolitionist movement and that served as inspiration for a lot of Latinos at the time.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about that. And I think we should more specifically as Latin people who are American.
So yeah, if you're at a bar right now getting fucked up to Despacito, you should think again.
Yeah.
About what you're drinking.
Anyway, the Chicano movement later in the like 70s used specifically the Battle at Pueblo, the Cinco de Mayo, as this David and Goliath narrative to rally people to really fight for their rights. And so that's what it became for a lot of Latin Americans at that time. And I think that's why it's a very important holiday in America specifically. But then around the 90s, late 80s, early 2000s, boxing companies really used Cinco de Mayo as a way to promote fights and to get money because there was a lot of Mexican American boxers. And then also a lot of beer companies used it as a way to advertise, and you have restaurant specials, and it really just became a commercialized holiday and people forgot what it was really all about. And yeah, the guy who was talking about it, Russell Contreras, he was talking about how he will never forget Cinco de Mayo because there was an instance of police brutality in his hometown that occurred on Cinco de Mayo during a Cinco de Mayo celebration at a bar, where a Mexican American was brutally killed by policemen. Damn. And
wow.
Yeah.
Wowza.
What were you looking at, Aaron?
I was looking at Italians running on a greasy pole. I was just wondering the history about it. But
I'm
hearing all of this.
In the early celebrations of Cinco de Mayo. I'm going to stop because it doesn't seem like you're interested.
No. Finish it up. Do another. No. Do another bit. I am paying attention.
Rude. You're being very rude.
I'm not trying to be rude. Just finish
here I
this
am
up.
talking about police brutality and you're looking at
I'm just looking at the greasy pole. Well, there's some good history behind it too.
Anyway, I'm going to link the pages that I researched because I do think it's really important that you know about Cinco de Mayo. I think that it's often an overlooked holiday in the community as well as outside of that. Can you please not be like this?
Okay. I agree.
I'm
So, sorry. Okay, no.
I do not want to have to restart this podcast.
We're not going to restart this podcast. This is going great. I appreciate all that. So, what's one takeaway you want the audience to have from Cinco de Mayo?
You should pay attention to people when they speak.
Okay. And from a historical context.
Aaron, what did I say?
Wait, you were talking about the war.
What is it? What happened in Cinco de Mayo?
Do you want me to remember all the names?
No.
Okay.
Just explain simply what happened.
Okay. Well, there was a war. And there was a...
There actually wasn't a war.
What?
It was a battle.
There was a battle. And you saw that they were outnumbered by the French. And they ended up winning.
And what did that come to represent later for people?
That came to represent that people can defy authoritarianism and those types of...
And who used...
Probably not
which movement
specifically
later in the 70s used it as a
like
beacon of hope?
1970s?
Yeah.
1970s? I have
Yeah.
no idea.
Chicano movement.
Right.
And how was it linked to abolition?
People were like, well, if they did that, then we're going to do that too. Let's end this thing. That was basically it. That was basically what you
talking
said.
about brutal history on this podcast because
That's
I don't think that
basically
we
what you
have the
said.
space to
The space?
talk about it here.
What do you mean?
I just feel like we're talking about serious things and you're making a joke about it.
I'm not making a joke about it. So sorry. This is when you know you've gone too far, and I appreciate it. What's the cut for? Just in general?
I'm done.
With the podcast?
Yes.
No, we still have like 30 more minutes.
I don't want to do this anymore.
I'm sorry. Guys, she was so excited for this too. She was so excited. I'm so sorry. I mean to make you cry.
I always cry. But
Yeah?
you're being an asshole right now.
What?
Yes.
What do you mean?
You're being an asshole.
We'll keep talking. No?
Go back to your seat. I'm crying because I'm overwhelmed and I know that the camera's on me.
What do you mean you're overwhelmed?
I'm overwhelmed because I did all this research and I just wanted it to sound okay.
This sounded great.
No, but then
What?
you were being rude and you
How
made fun of
so?
it and you act like
I
we're
wasn't
on a comedy
making funny
special,
of
and
you.
we're not on a comedy special.
I know we're not.
We are not comedians, Aaron. You're
I
not
know.
fucking Bobby Lee, bro. You're not.
That was a little...
You know that you try to
racy.
be like Bobby Lee.
What?
Yes, you do. And what's his name? That guy with an accent.
What?
That guy with an accent.
Oh my god. It's gonna be okay.
I want to start this over.
You want to start over? No, we're gonna keep going.
There's no way we can post this. You're
Why
making
not?
fun of me, and you're making fun of Cinco de Mayo. Don't come near me.
Okay.
God, I wish I was your teacher right now so I could hate you.
I don't think that's allowed anymore.
It should be for
think we should bring that
special
back?
children like you.
That's like a class you test into.
I really wanted to not cry on this podcast. I really wanted to do a good job.
You did great.
I wanted to bring you guys solid information. And Aaron just takes the podcast in a completely different route that I do not like.
What do you mean?
You make a joke out of everything.
Oh.
You do that when you do that when I can't do
When what?
You do that when we're with our friends too.
What do you mean?
I mean, you're your sweet self when you're with Jasmine. I'm not okay.
And my sweet self when we're
I
together.
don't want to post this podcast. I'm being forced to post this podcast.
It's like when they
And
blinked.
now this meltdown will take away from the history that I explained about Cinco de Mayo. So it just makes it all so bad.
It's not bad. You're okay.
It is bad.
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I'm really sorry.
I hope you guys learned something because I actually valued a lot from the podcast that I listened to. I am going to link it below because I want you to listen to it too.
That's great.
Don't you dare. This is the problem with riffing.
I did not expect this.
You just want me to be a laughing stock?
What?
Yeah.
No, I don't. What do you mean?
Don't touch me.
What do you mean? I want you to be a laughing stock?
You want me to be a laughing stock for the people?
No, I
so we get more
don't.
views. No one's
No,
gonna
I
watch this
don't.
anyway.
Huh? I
I-
don't want you to be a
I
laughing stock.
Quit.
What?
I quit the podcast.
What do you mean you quit?
I mean, you're being ridiculous, and you always do this when you're trying to be funny. Don't try to be funny. Just
You're
be
right.
you.
You're right.
It hurts other people's feelings. There's no way that we can post this.
Why not? This is pretty good content.
I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna throw up.
Don't throw up. Don't throw up.
I feel like Leela. Why am I even crying right now?
I don't know.
You know.
Do you feel like it's 100% because of how that segment went? Then I'm really sorry. If I caused this, then I'm really sorry.
There's honestly nothing else that's really bothering me. I had a wonderful day.
You had a great day today.
You
went for a little walk, you made your veggie hash.
I'm like this.
Yeah. How did that
And-
happen?
I really wanted people to know the importance of Cinco de Mayo.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
I
sorry.
think that it's actually very important because
I agree.
oftentimes history is taught completely incorrectly, and
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people that feel
What?
noticed in history classes because their history is taught completely wrong, and it's
You're
just
right.
important when you actually teach about that stuff and learn about it. So
You're so
and
right.
I would make sure that's the first thing when I sent my kid to school. I would make sure that they have a good history program.
Yeah, that's important.
It's very important.
History's very
It's
important.
actually the most important thing because if you don't learn from your mistakes, you will never learn at all, and that's what this country sucks at.
You're right.
And did you know what they opened the podcast with?
What?
Let me tell you.
Tell me
And
right away.
I thought I'm not going to say this at the end because Aaron will think this part is hilarious. Trump posted a picture of himself eating a taco bowl on Cinco de Mayo, and he
When?
said, "The best taco bowls are at Trump Tower Grill." I love Hispanics. And I knew I was going to save that for the end of my segment because I knew that you would appreciate it. But you didn't even get to that part of the segment. So you lost.
So sorry. I'm so sorry.
I know that I talk like a nerd and I get it.
You don't talk like a nerd.
Long-winded,
You talk
but
like a cool girl.
I should have made
You're super
my
cool.
segment sound cooler.
You sound so cool. You sounded so cool. That went really well.
There's no way that we can post this.
Yeah, we can.
No.
I think they would love to see this.
Why?
Huh?
Why would anyone love to see this? Honestly, it's taking away from the meaning of my segment. It's taking away from the important things that I was trying to say.
You're
and
right.
It's taking away from other people.
Well, I'm sorry.
And now
So what's your biggest takeaway from
feel-
Cinco de Mayo?
that it's a beacon of hope for a lot
Yeah.
of people. That battle specifically.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
really sweet.
It was used in a lot of other movements, but also there's a lot of terrible history behind it. A lot of history of police brutality.
Yeah.
And
As a result of
like there was a specific celebration.
out of celebratory instances.
Like, for example, now in more recent history, people were afraid to go to Cinco de Mayo celebrations in, I think, Houston, Texas, because they were afraid that there was going to be immigration raids when Trump was president.
Oh. Yeah. That's interesting. You know what they used to do? I think Rudy Giuliani said this. I forgot when they were campaigning. This was decades ago. But they would try to essentially force Hispanics not to vote. What they would do is, if they wanted to register to vote, they would have mail cards sent out saying that Border Patrol officers will be checking cards at voter lines. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. That makes sense, though. I've heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not just a day of celebration.
It's a day of remembering.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know anything about the history until I researched it, so I'm really grateful for that guy, Russell. You should look up his stuff, honestly.
Russell
Contreras?
Okay. Is he the guy who works for the History Channel?
No. He's a reporter, and he came on in the LA Times podcast.
Okay, he was on the LA Times.
Yeah.
Great.
And he was just saying, like, you know, a lot of people say that there's not enough information out there about Cinco de Mayo, but he actually writes about it, and a lot of people talk about it and write about it. But, like, the nature of our country, people just aren't looking to uplift that specific narrative.
Yeah.
They're looking to advertise and, like...
It's all advertisement.
Yeah, it's all advertisement. It's, like... And specifically after the 80s, like, it became all about that, and it totally lost its meaning.
Right.
Like, and actually, it used to be celebrated, like, in San Francisco a long time ago, like, closer to the time that Cinco de Mayo actually happened. It used to be celebrated. People would wear, like, Civil War gear and, like, things like not
From
Confederate
From where?
From the abolitionist side.
Okay.
And they would, like, reenact battles, and, like, it would be in remembrance
Got
of
it.
the
I
abolition movement. And I didn't know that it
I
was so
understand.
tied. I didn't know that it was so tied together.
Right. I didn't know that either.
And then later you see, like, it being tied to police violence.
Mm.
And it's just really interesting because we often don't talk about, like, black and brown history connecting a lot of ways in America.
Sure.
And I just thought that was
Think
really
of a lot
interesting.
of opposition.
Yeah, and you think of a lot of, like, just anti-black sentiment in Latin communities.
Sure.
And I just think that it's really important to share these stories, especially with your families.
Totally.
And things like that.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
I'm really sorry.
I don't think you are, but it's fine.
I am.
It doesn't really matter that much. I just...
What do you mean?
This isn't about me.
I know it's not about you, but you can see how I feel bad and that I'm sorry.
I just feel embarrassed mostly.
Why are you embarrassed? I should be embarrassed.
Because I look like an idiot.
No, you don't look like an idiot.
Yes, I do.
I'm really cute right now.
Well, that's because I'm vulnerable.
I know. It's a good place to be vulnerable. Some people might need that. Some people might need vulnerable talk. See, where it can be a problem for me is...
This is just a stupid, stupid thing to get upset about, and especially because it's not a relation to me at all. Why are you smelling your fingers?
I smell her anal glands. I think our cat dropped anal glands on that blanket.
Aaron.
I'm sorry.
I don't know why she has that issue.
I think it's when they feel stimulated. Not sexually. I mean, just
She
excited.
always releases them on me.
She releases them on you. I think she gets excited when you sit down and want to cuddle her. Do you want me to get her right now? Okay, I'll be right back. Why don't you talk a little bit more about the history and give you a
I'm
kiss?
done talking about this.
You're done? Just give like one more thing while I go get her.
No, okay. Don't kiss me, Aaron. Anyway, guys, don't kiss me. I really think that you should listen to that podcast. That guy had a lot to say, and I also thought it was really funny because in the beginning, they weren't allowed to have the rights to a beer commercial for Cinco de Mayo, so they made their own beer commercial, and you could tell that they were trying to impersonate white people, but it was really funny because they were like trying to say like Cinco de Mayo and tequila in a non-Latin way. And
What do you mean?
because they were impersonating white advertisement
Oh.
companies because they weren't allowed
Oh.
to get the rights to actually use one.
Wow.
We'll put it on here.
Yeah,
But it was just funny.
that is funny.
Anyway,
Interesting.
next time I'd really appreciate if Aaron, you did the research with me.
Well, okay, and
Because
here's my mistake. And
I
this,
understand what you thought. You thought that you were going to tell me about your... I'm very emotional right
it's okay. It's okay.
Mercury is in retrograde.
Mercury's in retrograde. What is that? You keep saying that.
I don't really understand what it is because I only took time to research Cinco de Mayo.
So sorry.
So, I'm fine. I'm going to pull it together for the end of this podcast.
Yeah, we still have like 15 more minutes.
50?
15.
15 only?
We pushed to 20. This is pretty
You know
good
what,
content.
you guys? I really think that we should just scrap this. And this was a lot like the podcast that we gave last time where Aaron was drunk and rolling on the floor and he wasn't speaking and he wasn't okay.
I'm doing
and-
great.
No, but I'm not okay. I'm not clearly
Oh,
like,
we reversed, you're saying.
Yes.
That's okay. No, you're saying a lot, though.
The point is that I wish
What do you wish?
that we would research things together to talk about. Because
Yeah.
then you would actually actively be interested
We could
in
be
them,
able to
and you would be
converse
able to
about it.
talk about it as well.
That makes sense.
But you didn't want to know anything about it. You didn't.
Whoa.
You didn't want to know. You were only obsessed with your Italian mud slime.
Mudslide. It's actually the greasy pole contest, but you're right. In the future, I think what would probably be best is if we sat down together, and I'm not sure what we're gonna research next. You can leave something in the description. We said maybe every other podcast or something we'll have like a segment where we discuss something. Maybe every holiday we'll discuss what's going on. But you're right. In the future, we'll research it together. So, not there yet, I understand. Where we can sit down and then have a real conversation. Because my thought process was, oh, you can teach me about it and we can riff. But you know what? No more
but
riffing.
You don't riff. You
You're
just
right.
make fun of things that I say.
I'm not
Well,
making fun
say,
of you.
oh, yeah. And then you put on your comedian voice, which isn't the real you. You just did it. It isn't the real you. Sometimes you try to be funny, but sometimes it's not the time to be funny.
You're right.
And I get it. We could have made jokes about things. We could have riffed together, but it just felt like it was all on me.
Oh,
And I felt
okay.
like a lot of pressure, and
Yeah.
now I just feel so embarrassed. Awfully embarrassed.
Don't feel embarrassed.
I do feel embarrassed, though.
But that's okay.
Anyway, that's my segment. Is there anything else that we want to talk about?
Well, that went well. I'm gonna say that went well. As for what were you talking about with the mercury stuff? So is it like
Mercury.
physical mercury that we're ingesting, or is this a moon thing?
No, but apparently we ingest metals every single day. Which was an awful thing to hear
Where did you hear that?
on a podcast. Sometimes I just listen to health podcasts to think, oh, I need to be healthier, but I think it's probably just body dysmorphia or something. Oh my god. Okay.
Well, that's understandable.
Mercury is in retrograde. Okay, yes. I only only researched some of it because I was supposed to research about Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina candle, which would have been a lot more fun to talk about, and Aaron probably would have really liked that and paid attention. What? You would have, because you would have thought that it was funny.
Her vagina candle?
Yes.
Is it just a vagina and a candle? Or
It smells like her vagina.
Her vagina?
I think so. I didn't research it because I didn't have time.
So it's scented to be a vagina.
I believe so.
Wow.
Would you want one?
Well, that's an interesting thought because it like scents up your home to smell like a vagina.
I don't know. I really don't know. I didn't research it.
Okay. Does it look like a vagina?
No, I think it's just a regular candle.
Okay, it just smells like one.
Yeah.
I'll think about that.
Would you want that?
No.
Do you like particularly the smell of vaginas?
I don't know if I would want my home to smell like it by choice.
Right.
In the sense, like, I don't know if I'd want to light a candle. Like, I don't know if I'd want to light a candle and then that to be the odor. Not that I have a problem with it.
That makes sense.
But do you particularly, like, do you want that?
No.
Okay.
Especially not Gwyneth's.
Why?
I'd want my own.
Right.
That's the only vagina scent that I love.
So true.
I would get like 20 of those candles.
Just be all up in the house.
And every time.
Have one for the car.
Every time that I. This is so nasty. Every time that I broke up with someone, which has really only been 1.5 times, and I was dumped both of those times. Anytime that I've been in a relationship, I've been the one who's dumped. I know, shocking. And I would, if I had a vagina candle in that moment, I would smear. I would smear that vagina wax all over everything that they owned. So they couldn't get rid of that.
They'd have to buy a new bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd smear it.
Honestly, I would go back to my ex's house right now and smear that vagina candle.
Honestly, it would be because they wouldn't consider it.
Look, they probably wouldn't remember.
Well, if you just lit that candle in their house,
Like something.
they would just have like a complete rosebud moment. They'd just be like,
Something's familiar.
but yet I don't know what. Is that a vagina candle?
So, actually, I do think that this is a very smart marketing thing for Goop. I think that you should offer to create personalized vagina scented candles, specifically to sabotage your eggs.
That'd be a crazy sending that out to the lab. Like, how would you even do that?
I guess
Would you pee?
you'd have to be pretty intimate with the lab.
Because it wouldn't even be pee, right? Because if it's your vagina smell. Because if it was like me, how would I scope myself? I'm just trying to think how we could get the smell in like a bottle or something.
It shouldn't be too hard.
Okay. Brighter people can figure that one out.
I think I could figure it out. I know how I would figure it out. But we won't describe that on the podcast. Anyway. This podcast has gone exactly in the wrong direction.
I kind of like
It's
it.
everything that I didn't want.
It's okay. We're climbing out of it.
And it's everything that Aaron wanted. Okay. No, okay, Mercury in retrograde means, I think that, like, and I could be totally wrong on this. I'm not going to put resources on this one yet because I haven't researched it, but I will for next time. Maybe Aaron will research it. And it's when the tide is going against the moon, I think. And so it feels like you're moving backwards.
Oh.
And I really resonated with that because I used Mercury in retrograde as just a way to be like, yeah, I'm in a weird funk right now. But I do think that idea of like moving backwards is a specific way to describe the funk I'm in.
Yeah.
Because I do.
I've been feeling the same way too.
And it's like you feel very tired a lot. You feel like you're not getting stuff done, or you don't have the energy to do things. Like, I've been sleeping so much this week.
Yeah,
Like,
you
I took
have
a
been.
4-hour nap. I went to bed at 10. I woke up at 10. I never wake up at 10. Like, I've just been so dead tired. And I think that there's something to say about you're constantly feeling like you're catching up, or like you're moving backwards. Like, that's the perfect way to describe it.
Like running on a treadmill.
Yeah, kind of. Or a hamster wheel. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Like,
Hamster wheel is a better visual, though.
for example, I felt that I did all this research and I was really excited to talk about my segment. And then I felt like it totally moved backwards. Like, I really wasn't able to express the magnitude of of Cinco de Mayo. And honestly, I do feel really guilty about that, because I feel like I did a disservice.
No, you did good.
Holiday.
You did good. I honestly think if someone listens to that segment from start to finish, if you guys are still here, they will have learned
I hope I didn't
more.
scare anyone away.
You did great. And if I saw that segment, it'd be who's that animal that she's with, and I'd shoot him in the head.
That was a lot. We just talked about war.
Sometimes that's what happens.
Anyway.
And you know where I learned that?
Me.
You. I don't know. Yeah. I've been feeling the same way, though. And I'm sorry for making you feel like your segment wasn't
It's not all
important.
your fault. It's just Mercury and retrograde.
Yeah.
It's just the stars.
It's the stars. It's
Do you
weird.
believe in that stuff?
Sometimes I don't. I'd like to say that I'm a very sarcastic, kind of cynical personality.
You're not cynical. I'm cynical. You're positive. You're just
But
saying
I
that
think-
because you feel bad.
I think cynicism doesn't necessarily correlate to positive. I mean
I
cynicism.
feel like it directly correlates.
Cynicism in the sense of pseudoscience. You know what I'm saying? Which doesn't mean I'm calling this stuff fake, but something that can't be proven in
You don't believe in magic.
what kind of magic. Would be specific. What do we mean by that?
I'm kidding.
Or I'm
You
saying
don't believe in astrology or
what? Right, things that can't
ghosts, or you don't believe in spirits, or you don't believe in crystals.
be. I
or-
would like to say no, but well, crystals is a whole other topic that I could spend maybe 7 to 9 hours talking about, but we won't get into that now. We've also talked about crystals before on this podcast,
too many times.
so I won't even do that here. However,
I need bread and a long walk.
you weren't walked today.
I walked myself a little bit.
Not enough.
Oh, that was so nice, though. I was so happy on that walk.
You were happy. I could sense your spirit from like half a mile away.
Okay, but do you see what I mean?
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I like to think that spirituality, all of that stuff, I don't understand. I can't wrap my head around it. Yet there are times where I wonder how human beings came up with, like, every culture I feel like has that.
Yeah.
You know, every part of the world has something like that. They all have a god, they all have a religion.
Well, I do think, like, specifically with astrology or that sort of thing, like, where the moon is positioned in that given time, like, where the tide is. Like, I do think that we're affected by nature heavily.
For sure.
And just that alone, I think that's why we would be affected by it.
Yeah.
Like, we're affected by the seasons, something as simple as that. Like, if it is wintertime, I do feel more lethargic. I blossom in the summer.
Yeah, you do.
Like, I'm so happy, always outside. Like, I do think that we're very tied to nature.
Just
I
like lying
personally,
on the concrete outside. There'd be times in the summer I just come home and Sophia's just lying on the concrete.
it's
face
so
down.
warm. It's so warm and wonderful. I think I'm specifically very tied to to nature. Maybe because I'm so
I think
bad
you're
at
very aware of your body.
technology. Yeah, and I
You're
think
very aware of your body.
your body is very tied to those things.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think sometimes when people are sad or they don't really understand, like that's me. I feel like I'm not in tune with my body.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? You would agree?
Um.
I just didn't know what that was.
No,
I didn't
I
have
was
an
like
opinion
wanting you
behind
to
it.
continue.
Okay. Yes. I. What I was saying is, I feel often out of tune with my body. I feel like I don't always understand it, particularly as it relates to my stomach and my
That's true. You do have a lot of stomach issues.
nutrition, perhaps, my bowels, perhaps, all of these things. But also, I remember in
You do
college,
have particularly sensitive bowels,
of course,
right?
it's the Jew Asian, though. Both are not particularly blessed with favorable digestion
Yeah.
tracts.
It does seem that way. It does
Think
seem
about
that way.
all the ones you know.
Too.
Yes.
They both have stomach issues. Though Alex, I feel like either really regulates her stomach issues,
What do you mean regulates?
like eats the right things that don't affect her, because I've never actually witnessed her stomach issues.
But she has them.
Yes, but I think that maybe she knows her body well enough to fix them.
Mm.
Like, I've never seen her run to the bathroom in the ways that you do. I don't even think
Yeah.
I've ever heard Alex poop.
That's true. Me neither. You've heard me.
It's like kind of crazy because I lived with her for 4 years and she definitely heard me poop plenty of times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a poopy person.
No, you're not.
Not as much as you.
You go in 2 seconds. You are like the cleanest. When like boys in the 5th grade are like, "Oh, women don't poop." You know how that was always a thing? Have you
Not
ever heard
really.
about that?
Maybe.
It's like obviously not, but
Mhm.
you are probably that visual embodiment. Because when you go to the bathroom, you go for 2 seconds. You poop as fast as you pee.
I really value my poos.
That's great that you are able to hone in on it and keep them so short. Because me, that takes me like 30 minutes.
That means you're not healthy.
Clearly.
You should have a clean wipe, actually. And I noticed
That has never happened
when
to me
I'm
in my
eating
entire
poorly
life.
or I'm not taking care of my health, I have messy wipes.
I've never had a clean wipe in my life.
That's not good, Aaron. That's not good.
I don't even, like, you know
So
how
anyway,
they do a thing of like shapes, you know?
yeah.
Can you even, there's no shape anymore.
I know.
Anyway,
I know.
we can move on from this, but we all know I have issues. Anyhow, we're circling back
The Vagina and Poop podcast.
to me not being in tune with my body. I remember times where I was feeling depressed
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know why, because it didn't necessarily correlate to anything that was going wrong in my life.
Yeah.
But I honestly think it was probably because of the weather, because it was cold as shit out.
And
You couldn't leave the house. It does
that's
affect
so
you.
true. And something that's funny is like I do attribute knowing my body so well to my mother,
She's very good at that.
because, and maybe this was also kind of because we didn't really talk about mental health in a way of like, we never addressed depression or anxiety by name growing up, and like therapy was really taboo. So that might be a result of this. But whenever I was like really sad or really off, or, you know, my mom would always attribute it to something like, have you eaten? Have you slept? Like,
That makes sense.
are your hormones off right now? Like, is this a specifically hormonal time for you? Or she'd really talk about it in a way tied to physical health. And I think that sometimes
The emphasis would be on physical health.
yeah, and sometimes like a simple answer like that really helped me understand my body.
That makes sense. I think that's a fair point.
Mm-hmm.
I think mental health, like your psychology, I think that's discussed and we all understand that.
Yeah.
To a degree, we need to be in tune with what's going on with ourselves mentally, all of those things, cyclically, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I agree, a lot of things, and I think that I've learned this in our relationship, a lot of things are tied to our bodies as well.
Mm-hmm.
For example, last night I went to bed at like 4 a.m. because I was doing the wallpaper. I want to show them the wallpaper just really quickly.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna pan and bring it back.
But it's not decorated or anything.
You're right. We'll put a photo up when it's done. Anyway, we're wallpapering the workspace, and I short-circuited the entire house, and I literally thought the whole place was gonna blow up.
That was traumatic.
I was really scared.
I did hear him screaming in the middle of the night, and I just kept sleeping.
You were like, "What is that?" Your nighttime voice came on. What is that?
It's my nighttime voice.
It's your vigilante voice, like you go fighting crime in downtown LA. It's like you start a fight club and then come home. You were like, "What is that?" You're like, "Aaron, come to bed." And I was like, "I think I'm about to blow up the house. I need your help." You were like, "Just go to bed. Go to sleep." And then I heard the furrow of the bed in the distance. And I was like, she's not coming. But also, I was literally going to be like, you need to call your dad right now. You need to call your brother. You need to call your dad. You need to get them on the phone and we need to talk them through this. I think the wiring is messed up. To be fair, the outlet was smoking.
Aaron did try to do something to that light above our desk area.
I put a dimmer.
He did something else. He tried to put a light fixture there.
Oh, yes.
And my brother and dad came to help me set up the apartment. And Aaron was in Hawaii. And they were like, wow.
I was incredibly nervous for them to see that.
They fixed it in like 10 minutes.
Which I am shocked by.
But they were disappointed in us when they came.
For sure, that makes
sense. To see this apartment.
I did leave that particular fixture in horrendous shape. When it comes to electricity, makes me very nervous.
I don't think that you should ever touch it. I don't think that you should deal with electricity.
I won't again.
And I do believe that anything that's like handy that has to do with
electricity
specifically, or anything that's not like you can build it with a screwdriver.
I feel like I'm in the way of the water though. Like I can kind of do water stuff.
Yeah, you can.
I feel like I understand water.
But do you understand drains and pipes?
Not well enough. I'm saying like I put in the filter.
I think that you are someone who will look at a YouTube video, you will do research, and you will figure anything out. You're very good at that. You're very good at that. Naturally, I don't know if you are a handy person.
I agree.
I think that you're a smart person, so you figure it out, and more so than me. Like I just get lazy, and I'm like, I'll just call my dad or brother because I always had someone who could do it for me.
Sure.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm
just
smart in the way that gorillas
yourself.
are smart.
Right. Gorillas are pretty smart.
No, of course. If you leave me in like a box with a screwdriver,
you can get out.
Figure it and an instruction manual.
See, I would like do something. I would like try to get out in a different way, and it probably wouldn't work, and I might slide out, but.
I saw this video of a man who was on a snow course. This was right after the Saint Fiesta.
Mm-hmm.
I know. You're aware. And it was this man going skiing down a mountain. And he went off the main path. So they have all the main paths on this ski hill. And he went off the main path. And he literally went... there was like a divot, so he went to the side. And as he was going to the side, he had to stop because there was just too much snow. And as he got off, he heard from under the snow.
Oh my God.
And he was like, I think there's a person under here. I think there's literally a person. And he's wearing a GoPro, so, I mean, you can see all this. And he hears, and he's like, okay. And he just starts digging. I've never, you know how like when babies are stuck under a car, like you hear moms picking up like that. I saw that in real time. It was this man digging, like It was in a full-on almost like snowstorm, the adrenaline of being in like of a snow mountain, and just hearing this little voice under the ground.
What happened?
And you see him with his hands just going like, must have been 100 pounds of snow. And there's just a man there, and he's lying there, and he uncovers his face. Somehow he found him. Even if I heard that noise under the ground,
You wouldn't have found
how would you find someone? It's like a treasure
It's
hunt.
a miracle.
And the man is there, and he's staring up at him, and he's like, "Can you breathe?" And he's like, "Yeah." He found him.
And, so
And then he gets out his shovel, and he digs him out, and he helps him out. And he survived. What the fuck are the odds? Like, the guy who was under the snow was content with the idea that he was dead. He knew he was dead in his own mind. He was off the path. He literally was barely saying anything when he came out. He couldn't believe it. He had accepted that he was going to die.
Wow.
And he was just stunned.
Wow.
At the end, he was like, "Take your time, man." As the guy was digging him out.
Oh my god.
He was like, "Can you breathe?" And he was like, "Yeah." And as he was continuing to
How
dig
long
him
was
out,
he under there for?
I have no idea. Wow. But what are the odds that this guy goes off the path, not only flies over him?
See, that's like...
I don't understand that.
That's like God.
He would still be in the mountain. Do you know what I'm saying? No one would have ever found him.
Why was he off the path?
Some people just ski and fuck around. I don't know. But this guy was too, who found him.
Yeah.
He was with his friend, and they went down the mountain. They got
like,
separated.
Must be like that person was supposed to come back to life.
Yeah, he had
That
more to
person
do.
was supposed to be alive.
There was just more for him to do.
Yeah.
He wasn't done.
Oh. Wow.
I'll have that video over. It's like a 4-minute video.
We'll
as
link
I'm
it.
explaining
We'll link it.
As I'm explaining it, I'm gonna play it. I think. Sound off.
Okay.
It's not gruesome or anything. It's just him digging in the snow.
Yeah.
It's like Jeremy Renner.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, that was an Avenger moment though. Not like Jeremy Renner.
That is an Avenger moment.
Yeah.
My cousin in Colombia is teaching me Spanish.
So cute.
And she was trying to describe, because we were reading this passage. Sorry, I'll finish with this.
No. Go for it.
We were reading this passage about this dancer, this flamenco dancer from Spain, and it was all in Spanish. And there was a specific word. I should know the word because I literally learned it through this. That like described all the works, like a big work, actually it was like the opening of something, like the premiere basically. And I didn't know what that word was at all, because when I used the word premiere in Spanish, and she described it as like, like when the Avengers opens and everyone's like lining up to see it, and she kept using like the Avengers as a reference to describe
funny.
This huge body of work that this guy had done. And he was a flamenco dancer from Spain. I just thought it was funny, like that was what she thought of, and I thought it was really cute.
That is cute.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's funny what life is so crazy.
Yeah. What are you thinking about specifically?
Just thinking about how they found that guy.
I know. Wow.
Like, that is my worst fear, being
that is actually my worst
alive.
fear, is not being able to breathe. Yeah. That's my worst fear.
And you just not being able to do anything.
No. Well, I'm really happy that story was a happy ending.
Yeah.
And that he's okay and alive and well. And I hope that he has a wonderful life.
Me too. I hope you guys do too.
Anyway, I want to apologize for this podcast. I apologize for every podcast that we have.
Why?
I would like to be more organized with these podcasts. I'd like to come in and like sound smart. My biggest fear is sounding dumb, and
you never sound dumb.
I do.
You never do. You don't. You're so smart. I honestly feel like that initial segment you did, it really teed up the rest of it. I feel like from then to the end went well. I don't know. That's up for you guys to decide.
All right, goodbye.
Thank you guys for joining us today. I'm just gonna get close. I'm not gonna, do anything crazy, so don't worry about that. Thank you guys again for tuning in to the Little Guy, Big Girl podcast. We appreciate you guys. And do you want to close us out with anything?
No, not really.
Any catchphrases?
Fee fi fo fum, bitch.
Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
I just want to say, you guys, I had a really, really great day today. So I'm actually doing pretty well.
And I think you just needed that. You needed that release.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. All right, cut.
And I learned a lot.
Okay, cut.